everybody to this information session about the Accelerating Women in METS programme. Thank you for taking the time to attend today online. My name's Claire and I'm the programme manager here at Austmine. So before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we're meeting today. For me, here in Brisbane, I acknowledge the Jagera and Turrbal people, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people joining us here today. So in today's session, I'm going to provide you with an introduction to the Accelerating Women in METS programme. I'll introduce you to Austmine and the METS sector, and then I'm going to talk more specifically about the opportunities offered by this really exciting initiative. And joining me on the call today, I've got Christina from Burncut, who you'll see there. Hi, Christina. So she's going to talk to you a bit about what a vacation or a graduate programme would look like with Burncut, who are one of our METS company members. I've also got on the call Danielle, who's our tech whiz from Austmine. So if any of you experience any issues today, Danielle is there and she's available to help you. So if you have any problems, just put something in the chat and Danielle will be there. So there'll be time at the end of the information session for you to ask any questions of myself or of Christina. That might be about the METS programme, it might be about Burncut more specifically, or any other the opportunities that are available. So if you want to post a question that you have at any time, you don't need to hold on to those till the very end, because I know there'll probably be a lot of information and those questions will come up and then you'll be like, oh, I forgot what I was going to ask. Don't wait until the end. At any time, just put them into that Q&A box in the chat, and then we will get to it through as many of those questions as possible at the end of the presentation. So to begin with, I'd like to give you a brief overview of Austmine, just in case anyone isn't familiar with us. So Austmine is the leading industry body for the Australian mining, equipment, technology and services sector. And we represent over 750 members from all around Australia. We're a not-for-profit organisation, and our sole purpose is to champion the Australian METS sector to continue to be the best around the world. And our focus is to develop the METS sector and drive and support innovation, collaboration, and the next generation of skills for our industry. So what exactly is the METS sector? So I really wanted to find out how many of you have heard of the METS sector before. Here is a Slido slide. So if you've got your phones handy, if you just scan the QR code to the side there, and you'll be able to open up the Slido presentation. And then if you could just answer me, have you heard of the METS sector before today's presentation? I'll give you all a couple of minutes just to answer that. I'll get out my phone too. And don't be shy, there is no right or wrong answer. So a few of you have been able to respond, and what we have found throughout our student information sessions is that a lot of people haven't heard of the METS sector before. So we've got about 2/3 of the people participating at the moment haven't heard of the METS sector, and that fits with what we have found previously. Now, I know that most of you haven't heard of the sector before, But when you think about METS, which stands for Mining, Equipment, Technology and Services sector, what kind of words spring to mind? And we did share this beforehand, so some people have already put some ideas in there. What do you think of when you think of the METS sector? Again, I'll give you a few minutes just to put some ideas in there that come up when you're thinking of the sector. Okay, thank you everybody for inputting. I can see some things are really coming through. There's innovation, mining, engineering, technology, that it's multidisciplinary and it can be quite complex. There can be obviously services in there, but there can be things like minerals. It can be remote and mail coming through as well. So just to give you a bit of an overview of what the METS sector is. So as I've said, it stands for Mining, Equipment, Technology and Services. And METS is any company that supplies any part of the mining value chain. So up on your screens at the moment, that's a mining value chain. It's everything from exploration to mining production and processing, transport, right, and exporting, right the way through to rehabilitation. And METS companies tend to have very specialized knowledge. They're innovative and they're responsible for many of the groundbreaking technological advancements that have really improved the safety and the sustainability of the mining sector. When we think about METS companies, there's a real range. So Austmine member companies are METS companies, and they range from the smallest companies right the way through to the bigger corporate members. So on this slide here, you can see some examples of the various different METS companies that we have within Austmine, and some of them you may have heard of before. So Burncoat obviously are joining us today. We have Caterpillar, Komatsu, CSIRO, IBM and Amazon. So you can see that we have a big range, everything from those major equipment manufacturers and contractors and engineering firms through to the software providers and consultancies and the tech support services. So at Austmine, we represent everything from those biggest multinational companies in the sector, right the way through to small startup companies. Now in 2020, Austmine conducted a survey to try and understand what the size of the METS sector actually was. And this slide here summarizes some of those key findings from the survey. And for me, some of the things that really stand out and of real key importance is the fact that the METS sector is a really large sector and it's really important to the Australian economy. It creates over $100 billion in revenue and it employs more than 200,000 people. And we see that as a really conservative estimate. The sector has actually grown significantly since 2020, so it's probably even bigger than that. But over the recent years, Austmine has really witnessed some changes happening within the METS sector as well. The onset of innovation and technologies have meant that there's different ways of doing business. And that's really exciting because the mining industry is changing and it's changing for the better. It's being disrupted by forces, things like digitalization and the industrial Internet of Things, and that's providing opportunities. And those opportunities are for companies within the MET sector to do things like improve productivity, improve efficiency and safety, and make things more sustainable for the future of the resources sector. And it's also, though, creating some emerging challenges that we need to work on, things like cybersecurity and integrating technology. So there's this all amazing technology coming through at the moment, ways that we might be able to operate mine sites more remotely. But in order for that to work, we have to find a way of integrating the new technology with the older equipment that we have on site. And one of the biggest problems that we're having when we're trying to do that is the skills shortage. We are seeing a critical shortage of skills, which makes it impossible for mining companies and for METS companies to actually capitalize on these opportunities where they can innovate, but they can't do it because they haven't got the skill set. And this is where programs like the Accelerating Women in METS program that we're here to talk about today, this is why they're critically important. And this is why the government are supporting these kinds of initiatives. So to give you a little bit of background about the Accelerating Women in METS program, it's funded by the government Women in STEM and Entrepreneurship, or WISER grant, and it aims to increase the opportunities within the METS sector to encourage more female students to consider career paths within this sector. And what we're looking to do through our LinkedIn group, Women in METS, if you're not already a member, I'll be sharing a QR code a little bit later. I do encourage you to join that community. We really want to create a community for all the METS sector champions. That's women working with industry now and women who are looking at joining the industry, so that we can have an area where we can share ideas and we can begin to drive change. We'll be offering practical work experience through paid internships, which I'm sure is why most people are on the call today. And we'll also be offering mentoring and soft skills training so that you can use this program to really be a springboard to your successful METS career. We want to bring you in and we want to create an environment in which you can see yourself growing and staying in the long term. And we think that's really important for the sector. Now, the internships themselves are paid internships, and that was also a really important thing that we wanted to do as part of the program, because we know that isn't, in many cases across some of the sectors, isn't standard. And we feel that students and employers will gain so much more when interns are paid. And we hope to set an example and hopefully move forward. So eventually this is the norm, because we feel that it should be the norm that you're being paid for the work that you're doing. We want to help introduce our METS company members to yourselves, the next generation of talented female employees. So we'll be working with them to raise awareness about the need for increasing diversity within their workforces, and also to create that inclusive environment that's a great place for you to remain and stay and grow your career. So what exactly does the program provide? Well, there's two parts to the Accelerating Women in METS program. The first part, and the inclusions are here on screen at the moment. So there will be a 10-week paid internship with during the summer of 24-25. So that's from November 2024 until February 2025 or thereabouts. And it will include ongoing support from Austmine throughout your internship. So during your internship, you'll be placed with one of the METS member companies, and I will be running an additional training program to link you up with the other women who are part of the program, so the people who are doing internships at other companies, so that you can create a network together and you can grow, and also so that we can help with your soft skills training and really get you prepared for the end of your internship, where you hopefully will be continuing with the company you're at, or maybe looking for other jobs within the sector as well. So again, it's everything we can try and do to set you up for a future within the METS sector, where you will be warmly welcomed by our members. So to be eligible for the first part of the program, you have to be studying a STEM degree at university. You have to currently be in your third, fourth, or master's level students. So students that graduated last year are not eligible for this particular program, but that's not to say that you shouldn't join the Women in METS LinkedIn group, because this is a great way. You may have heard the old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know. We really want to connect everybody together and really help grow you into our industry. You have to be available for a minimum of 10 weeks during the vacation period. So if you've already got a fabulous holiday planned, firstly, can I fit in your suitcase? And secondly, unfortunately, maybe that won't work in. However, there is some flexibility there. So if you apply, maybe you need to start a little bit later, or you need to finish a little bit earlier, there is perhaps some flexibility in there. So you can work with the host companies to try and find a solution to perhaps a small amount of flexibility. But you really do need to be available for the majority of that vacation period. If you're an international student, provided that you have a work visa here for Australia, you can absolutely apply for the program. And the program will be offering internships at all of our states across Australia. So we'll be offering them in Victoria, in Queensland, in Western Australia, in New South Wales, and possibly in the ACT as well. So we will have different positions in different locations. If you're based in Western Australia and you want to apply for a position in Queensland, of course you absolutely can do that. However, we aren't able to offer any relocation assistance. You can speak to the member company about what if you need some support, maybe viewing properties in the area, because if you're applying from Queensland, Western Australia is a long way to go to perhaps go and have a look at a flat. However, for the majority of positions, you will be responsible for finding your accommodation and also funding your transfer to a different state. So we do ask that if you are applying for a position outside of your state, that in your initial covering letter, you confirm that you're happy to cover that relocation cost in there, just so that we know that you understand there may be some additional costs involved for that. But other than that, it will be a paid 10-week internship program. Now, if listening to me now, you've just realized perhaps you're a second-year student and you're not eligible for the first part of the program, all is not lost. This program will be running for the next few years. So when you progress through your university, you will be able to apply for the internship part of the program then. However, we also have a second part of the program that you might be eligible for now. So the second part of the program includes networking events. So Austmine, as a membership organisation, we run membership meetups at least about 4 times a year in every state. And we are going to be inviting students along to attend those. And we'll be partnering you up with an experienced industry professional. And I know firsthand how intimidating it can be to walk into a room of professionals who you feel already all know each other, and you're there and maybe you're not sure. So by partnering you up with somebody who's already established in their career within the sector, we're hoping that they will take you around and they will begin to introduce you to people so that you can then gain your confidence and grow your network at an event like this. And it's also a way for you to meet other students, perhaps from other universities who are studying similar things. And again, grow your network and grow within the sector so that hopefully you can find your home here. We'll be offering you career support. So we'll be running career development programs as part of the Accelerating Women in METS initiative. And we'll also be doing an innovation mentoring. So this is a group mentoring. We will be running group webinars where we'll discuss a topic to showcase some of the amazing things that are happening right now within the METS and the resources sector to do with the sustainable development and creating a sustainable future. And following those webinar discussions, we're going to have smaller group peer mentoring sessions where we'll be unpacking some of the things we've learned from that and looking at opportunities that might come of that. And this is a way for you to connect with your peers and to also connect with METS industry professionals who are working within the sector, who might again be able to grow your network and help you find your next position or your position within the METS sector. And all of those opportunities are going to be advertised through our Women in METS LinkedIn group. So it's coming up there again, and I promise I will share with you shortly a QR code so that you're able to access that Women in METS LinkedIn group. To be eligible for that part of the program, you just need to be studying a STEM degree. You can be any year level from first years right the way through to PhD students. And international students are, of course, eligible as well. If you have any questions or you want to ask anything, I've got my email address up there. And I've also put on screen now the QR code so that you can access that Women in METS LinkedIn group. If you haven't already got a LinkedIn page set up, I would say this is a great opportunity for you to set up your LinkedIn profile. And we'll come back to that a little bit later. But please do set up your LinkedIn profile, begin to connect with people within industry, and then join our Women in METS LinkedIn group. I'll leave that up there just for another 30 seconds or so. So for those of you who haven't already scanned it, you can scan it, and then we'll move on. So if you did miss that and I went a bit too quick, I will show the QR codes again at the end, so don't fear. We are collecting our expressions of interest in our host company vacancy descriptions at the moment. But what you can see here up on screen is some examples of some of the positions that participated last year. So if there's not a position that directly relates to your degree right now up on screen, that doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be a position for you in this year in the 2024 program, but this is to give you a bit of an idea. And you can see we have a real range of different positions. So from the Burncut mining engineer position in Perth to an emergent group looking for a STEM intern, we've got business development, we've got engineering disciplines, and we've also got process engineers, software engineers. There's a real range because that MET sector covers such a broad different degree of different aspects of careers, then you can see that there are lots of different opportunities, and really anybody with a STEM degree could be eligible for one of our programs. The interns themselves will come to a timeline a little bit later, but the internship positions will be released in June. So at that point, you'll really get a better idea of the positions that we're going to be releasing this year and whether or not there's something for you. We'll come back a little bit later, so if anyone has any questions, I can talk to that. But now I'm going to pass over to Christina from Burncut, just to tell you a little bit about Burncut as a company themselves and opportunities that are there for students within the company.
Thank you, Claire. Before I begin, I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we are all on today. I come to you at the moment, as you can see, I'm on site, dressed in my lovely high-vis, and I am just outside of Kalgoorlie, so I am on the lands of the Wanjakata people, group of peoples, and I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners and their leaders, past, present, and emerging. If we can go to the next slide, that'd be great. Please don't put my photo on there. Burncut Group is what I would like to describe as one of Australia's best kept secrets when it comes to employers. We have been around for 35 years and we're a very large organisation. However, not a lot of people necessarily know us unless you're in underground mining. We are an underground mining contractor. We do not own the mines, we operate them for our clients. We started in Kalgoorlie in 1987, and we were a privately owned company back then, and we remain a privately company now. We have grown a little bit since then, though, because we've completed 100 plus projects. We're actually a global company too. If we go to the next slide, the Burncut Group actually consists of a wide range of companies. So we have our mining and ground support companies in Burncut itself, in Jetcrete and Raising Australia. And then we have our electrical manufacturing and composites companies in Murray Engineering and Fuse. We have training and safety in BOAB, and BOAB is our Aboriginal business, building opportunities for Aboriginal business, and it is a training arm for Indigenous peoples. And then we have Sano, which is again a high performance training program consultancy, and then our engineering and consultancy groups, which are Mining Plus and Quattro Engineering. Can change slide. Just to give you a little bit of the depth of our operations within Australia, we are, as I said, a very large company. We have operations across the map. Predominantly, we are in Western Australia, and we also have a strong presence in South Australia too at the moment. So you can see that we have produced over 31 million tonnes of ore moved just in last year alone. And we own massive fleet of equipment with over 900 pieces. And when we talk about equipment, I was just in the workshop literally minutes ago, and the trucks that we have are probably, 4 or 5 times the height of an average person. So really large pieces of major scale equipment. We also have a global footprint, and I mentioned that before, but since 1999 we have been operating internationally, and at the moment we have operations in 5 international locations. We're currently in Canada, Saudi Arabia, Burkina Faso, Namibia, and in Mali. Again, remembering that we don't own the mines, but we operate the mines for our clients in those jurisdictions. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our vocation and graduate mining engineer programs. I do need to apologise in advance. My role is, my title is Group Head of People and Culture for the Byrnecut family, I guess. My colleague, Jessica Williams, has COVID at the moment, and she is, the lovely Jess is our graduate programs advisor, and she lives and breathes this. And so if there are questions that I do not know the answers to, please get in contact and I will make sure that we get you the proper answer with the expert who will come through later. Okay, so our programs are very much a immersive program, and we have 2 streams, the vocation work, which we'll talk about predominantly today, but that can also lead to graduate programs. What we do is provide immersive experiences for our people to start their careers within the mining industry. And what does that mean for us? Well, as a graduate engineer, we make sure that you know how to fully operate all the machinery that you would see in a mine. Our goal is to provide you with the opportunity to have 1 or 2 career paths. You can choose an operational career path, and by doing that, you will we hope to be able to get you to the point where you can pass your first class mine manager's license. Or alternatively, if that's not for you and you don't want to have that operational career, you can also have a technical career within one of our consultancies that I mentioned before. So that would be Mining Plus or Quattro. So the vacation program, I did mention it's hands-on and immersive. What does that actually mean? Well, it means that you get your PPE like me, and you get to come out to site and you'll be operating things to begin with in, like, for example, our trucks. So you'll become a truck operator for the first 10 weeks and you will be on site performing a FIFO role. In doing that, you'll actually get experience in all areas of underground mining. So predominantly, you'll probably spend most of your time as a truck operator. But in our graduate program, you do then move past that. You then move to our service crew, potentially to charge up. We have to give you a little bit of experience before we trust you with the explosives. So that's not your first rotation ever. And then you can move to things like being a bogger operator or a jumbo operator. And after you've done that, you actually then have enough experience to pass your first class mine manager's certificate, which is a really important thing, particularly in Western Australia, in order to be a project manager or a shift boss within our companies. There's lots of variation on the role, and most importantly, we think it's really one of the things that we pride ourselves on is the mentorship and support that you'll get throughout the program. So when you come in to us as a vacation student or as a graduate, you will get a great deal of assistance in terms of having project managers who are there to support you, who will track your progress. And you'll also have someone like Jess Williams, who I mentioned previously, who will be there to provide that check-in points and make sure you always have that link back to the head office. What can you expect from a program with us? Well, there's lots of opportunities, I think, is the first thing, and it's a real experience. My prior life before working in mining was actually working in law firms, and so I have a lot of experience with vacation clerk and graduate programs, and not all of those programs were necessarily hands-on, and actually a real taste of what you can expect. I can guarantee you that as a vacation student with us, you will get a real life experience of what it's like to be at a mine and what it's like to be an operator in one of our mining environments. So as part of the opportunity that you have with us, you will have the opportunity then to get various certificates, including, at the completion of the graduate program, the West Australian First Class Mine Manager's Certificate. You'll certainly get your first aid certificate and relevant ticketing for underground operating competency. So all of those machineries that I mentioned before, your truck, your the charger, which is not machinery, but it's explosives, the bogger and the jumbo, all of those require a ticket to be able to be considered competent and to obtain a job in those roles. And you'll be ticketed, you'll be trained and ticketed in each of those roles as you go through the graduate program with us. The work is definitely site-based. It's a roster of a 2-in-1. And 2-in-1 for the uninitiated is 2 weeks on, 1 week off. And it's really important to know that what happens on site is actually we effectively cover all of your costs and accommodation whilst you're here. So we fly you from Perth to site. Your accommodation is provided and all meals are provided too. The mess that is here is, or in any of our sites, usually has amazing food. Where I am at the moment, they had the best carrot cake with chocolate sauce last night. I can highly recommend the food. And the food is actually, strangely enough, one of the key points that everyone talks about when they come to site, because that's one of those things that's so important. The other thing that we provide for you is all of your PPE. So you will get the bright yellow, lovely shirt like I've got with the branding. Wrong side, there it is. But you'll get your boots, your hard hat, safety glasses, your miner belt, and your respirator. All of those things are key safety equipments, and we will make sure that they're all operational and safe and up to standard and code all of the time. If we can move to the next slide. So if you're interested in seeking a vacation or a graduate opportunity for us, what we're looking for is people who are currently studying mining engineering or who have recently completed a mining engineering degree. We will look at other engineers, but mining engineering is predominantly what we look for first. We like people who can demonstrate that they have an ability to work collaboratively, that you have excellent interpersonal and communication skills, and you hold a valid manual driver's license. You need that for some of the machinery that you're going to operate. And that is something that is a little more difficult these days to obtain. I have a daughter who's recently obtained her license, and we ummed and ahed about whether or not to get the manual or the automatic. She went automatic, but if you have the opportunity to get your manual license, it definitely is something to consider. So if you're interested, please reach out to us. We have on our website a graduate portal where you can obtain more information and you can apply directly through that portal. And that's it. Thank you for your time. If anyone has any questions about Burncard or about our program, I'd be very happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Christina. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, if you add them into the Q&A, and we'll get back to them at the end. We can bring them all together at the end. So thank you so much, Christina. I think that I certainly learned a lot about Burncard there. I hadn't realized how big the company was and how many different arms there are. It's really amazing, and certainly a great opportunity as a vacation student or a graduate student to get hands-on in the mines and see what life in the mines is really like. And I can second Christina's reviews of the food there. The food was always amazing when I was on site. Probably too amazing. Consider that when you're ordering the size of your PPE. So hopefully now you're all sat there thinking, how do I apply for this amazing opportunity? What do I need to do next? Well, to apply for our internships, they're going to be advertised on the Hot Rubble Connect portal. So on the screens in front of you, you can see I've put up there the Hot Rubble Connect webpage, which is www.hotrubble, so HOTRUBBLE Connect, CONNECT.com.au. And you can go on there and you can register at any time to start your account. So when you register as a job seeker, you have to set up your profile. You can upload your CV. And once you've done that, you can apply for multiple opportunities through the Hot Rubble Connect platform. So I'm going to talk to you in a moment about when you come to apply, what you might need to consider. But ensure that the first thing really is to ensure that your CV is up to date. You can do that now. You don't have to wait for those opportunities to come out. Update your CV so it reflects where you are currently at within your degree program. And if you do have a LinkedIn site, and if you don't, now again is the perfect opportunity for you to set up your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that your CV and your LinkedIn profile mirror each other. So as you're updating one, update the other one as well, so that there's a seamless mirroring between the two. And remember that although LinkedIn is a professional network, and the key there is professional. So if you've got a weekend picture of you and the beach with your dog, it might be an amazing picture, but maybe keep that one for one of your other social platforms and put one a little bit more professional, maybe you presenting at university, or if you've been to site, something cool with you standing next to one of those big trucks is always fun too. So something that mirrors what you want the employer to see and perceive you to be. So in your covering letter, when you're applying, as I've said, when you set up your profile on Hot Rubble Connect, you can apply for multiple different roles at the same time. But if you're going to do that, it's really important that you take a few minutes and create a separate covering letter for each role, because this is your opportunity to really stand out from other applicants and connect with the people at the companies that you actually want to work for. There might be 10 other people applying and they've all done their mining engineering degree. They've all got the same courses of you. They've all done a project. Well, what is your unique selling point? What is it that you do above everybody else in that applicant pool? Well, your covering letter is where you can sell that, where you can tell that employer why you are the most suitable person for the job. And I've looked at covering letters. I've been in recruitment for a number of years, and I can tell you the thing that lets people down time and time again is the covering letter. It's really important that you do tailor that to each position. I'm not saying that you need to restart again every single time, but look at the position description and consider what it is that that person at the company is looking for in the role. They will tell you what those key requirements are, and you can use that as your cheat sheet to tick that off as you're creating your covering letter. Have I shown how I hit this? Have I shown how I've done this? And if you have any questions, then a good way to start is to become a bit of a detective. LinkedIn, as well as being good for networking, is good for looking at things and researching. Go do some research on the company itself. What are their core values? What are they interested in? How do you align with that? What about the people who are already working at the company? You're applying for a mining engineering job. Is there anybody working there who's already doing mining engineering? What skills do they have really singing through on their profile? And how do you match that? And what could you show to show that you align with that company's interests? You also have now, which I haven't had the last time I applied for jobs, you can use ChatGPT to help you with your covering letter. But I would urge a real amount of caution when you're using that. I receive a lot of covering letters and they all appear the same. If you imagine you've created this image of yourself, you've told this story and you sound amazing, and then you think, oh, I'm not sure, I'm going to run it through ChatGPT. What ChatGPT does is take that shining example and dulls it down a bit and makes it a bit more uniform and takes off some of that stylish edge that really helps you connect. So I think ChatGPT can be useful in perhaps giving you a structure to your covering letter, but make sure that it's not writing it all for you. We really want to see you and your personality shining through. I think it can also be useful because I tend to find I hate writing about myself. And so I can sometimes be a little bit unsure about selling myself forward. I think, oh, that's a bit much. I don't want to do that. You can actually use ChatGPT to put your covering letter in there and say, make this sound more impressive, and then make this sound less impressive. And you can get the two extremes, and then you can see where you sit along that and make sure that you really are selling yourself to the truth of your abilities, and not being too shy to put yourself forward. Now, something I've got up on there that might help you when you're creating your covering letter is the STAR method. So when a company says that they're looking for a certain key attribute or a key requirement for a role, you can have a look. And so if you want to show that you can do that, the best way to show that you're capable of doing that and meeting that attribute is to give an example. And when you're providing an example to the person who's reading your covering letter, you can use the STAR method to do that. So what you need to do as part of that STAR method is firstly provide the situation. What was it that you were trying to do at the time that you did that? So for example, were you part of a university group hoping to develop a solution to something? Then the task, what was the specific problem or task that you were trying to do as part of this thing? So perhaps you were trying to find a solution to, I don't know, PPE sizing on site. And then action, what was it that you did? And when we're saying that, try and be as specific as possible. What exactly did you do to solve this problem? Did you go out and do some research? Did you go and were you the person who came up with an idea and you tested it out? Perhaps you were the person who you needed funding for something, so you went out and you gained X number of funding. Give us some real action that you did, not if you're talking about a group exercise, which you might be if you're only third year university and maybe haven't worked on site before, that's absolutely fine. But try and show how what you contributed towards that actual project. And then what was the result? Perhaps you gained a grade 7 in your report when you handed it in, or perhaps this led to a research idea or something else, or it made you think again about your career and what you want to do. The result can be something that should be something that's tangible and understandable to the person that's reading your CV. But if you consider that every time you're responding, you can get some really great answers, and then you can really stand out from the rest of the covering letters that we've got there. And when you have finished writing your covering letter, I'd really recommend that you double check. As I've said, you can use ChatGPT to check it, but it's probably better to send it to one of your friends, to one of your course peers. Maybe you can come up with an arrangement that they'll check 2 of yours and you'll check 2 of theirs. But if there isn't anybody else there, you can check it yourself. What I do recommend is that you finish writing it, go off, have a cup of tea, have a relax, and come back and reread it. I know from experience when I was writing up my thesis, I read that thing so many times and I was absolutely sure it was correct. And then when I came to my defense, I realized that there was a spelling error in the last line of the last paragraph that I must have read 50 times and completely missed. So it can be hard when you're really in it to see what's going on. So if you can get someone else to read it, great. But if not, take that time away and come back to it with fresh eyes. And then hopefully something will stand out for you then. So the key dates that you need to know for the program: the internship vacancies are going to be released onto that Hot Rubble Connect platform on the 4th of June. So we will be releasing the majority of those internships all in one go at that time on the 4th of June. We will be adding a few positions later, but most of those positions will be released then. The application window will be open until the end of June. So we'll start off with an initial 3-week application window for those positions that are launched on the 4th of June. And then candidates will be shortlisted in July this year. In July and August, successful applicants will be contacted by the companies and you'll be invited to participate in interviews with the prospective employers. And successful candidates will be informed in September, with the internships due to commence in November 2024. If you are a member of the of the Women in METS LinkedIn group, then as soon as everything's released, that's where we're going to be releasing those program updates. So when those internships are out, you'll see that advertised there. We'll also be advertising on there every time we add a new position. So if a new position comes online, we'll be making you aware there. So definitely, again, I'm going to plug that one more time. Please join our Women in METS LinkedIn group if you're not already a member. Now, I'm hoping we haven't got to this stage and you're thinking, why would I want to do this? I'm really hoping we haven't got there. But if we have, then really, I think Christina covered off a lot of it. It's really great to get that hands-on, immersive experience and actually test your skills that you've learned through your degree and cement that in a real METS environment. But you will also gain a lot of support from industry, and you, as I've said, you'll be involved in networking and you'll gain experience in things like managing up, and the online training that we're giving you will hopefully give you the confidence and the springboard to move on to the next stage of your career. You'll receive some work experience. So if you are studying an engineering degree, for example, you have to do so many practical hours, and the hours that you're doing as part of this internship can be counted towards your university experience. So if that's something that you're doing and you need, if you just let us know and we can work with you to find out the requirements of your degree, and then you can probably use the hours that you're doing as part of this internship program to count towards your degree hours. It gives you a first foot in the door. As Christina showed, the vacation program flows into their graduate program. And that's the case with many of the companies that are participating in our vacation program, that we expect that those positions could flow into or follow on to a graduate program. And even if they don't, what we're hoping is the experience that you gain through being there will help you with that next position. And it gives you a taste of the METS sector, which, as I said, many people hadn't heard of before. And so it gives you an idea of what's happening within this innovative sector. So now moving on to questions. If anybody has any questions, if you add those into the Q&A, and then we can answer them. Just have a look. I did see there was some on the Slido. So the first Slido question I have here is, are there any positions in most states? So, yeah.
Predominantly our positions will be based in Western Australia, but we will have positions in South Australia as well.
And more broadly as well with the Austmine internships, as I say, we expect to have positions across different states. They will not be with Bangkok, but they will be with other companies as well. So we will have some positions through the Accelerating Women in METS program in other states, but as Christina said, yeah, the Bangkok ones will mostly be Western Australia or possibly South Australia. Can international students apply? So for the Accelerating Women in METS program, provided you've got Australian work rights, then yes, you can apply for the program. It falls within that vacation period, so outside of your course hours, and therefore some of the restrictions that you have on your visa for the number of hours that you can work may not apply, but it is always worth double checking. I'm not an expert at all on visa conditions, so if you're unsure, if you want to check with your visa agent or with your university, but absolutely, provided you have work rights, you can apply to our program. Is that the same for you, Christina?
That is clear, yeah, absolutely correct. As long as you have working rights within Australia, and most of the student visas have an ability to work when it's not semester. So yeah, we would definitely look at that.
Okay, and there's one here specifically for you, Christina. What is your selection process when it comes to vacation work? What are you looking for?
So it's those things that I mentioned before. It's really people who have a mining engineering background, an interest in mining engineering, and see themselves either, one day as taking an operational side or, a technical side within mining engineering. But it's also about being collaborative and team players. And for us, Burncut is very much a team-based environment. And in order to flourish like we do, we have to have people that are team players. So that's really important to us.
Yeah, thank you. And another one for you, sorry, is what is the success rate of getting an internship without prior experience? So if someone hasn't had any work experience before, do you think they could be successful in getting an internship with Burncut?
Absolutely. We see the internship in our vacation program generally are your foot in the door. We expect that most people won't have experience up until that point. So we're not counting on the fact that anyone has experience. If you do, great, that'll be taken into account. But if you don't, that's fine. It's an even playing field. Most people will not have that experience.
That's really good to hear. And that is the case with the majority of our internships as well that are offered during the program, that we don't expect you to have experience. And this is where your covering letter, where you can show your relevant experience and show how the things that you've done as part of your degree really meet some of those requirements. You're on your way. This is your opportunity to grow, and this is your opportunity to begin to form your career within the MET sector. So don't let that put you off applying. And I suppose the other thing to say as well is that myself, Christina, Jess, all the people who are doing the recruitment right now, we are all people. So if you have more questions that you think of later on down the line, or if you're applying for a different job and there's a contact name on there, never feel afraid to reach out to that person. It can only be a good thing that you're showing an interest in a role and you want to know more. I think it took me a long time to realize that, and I was always the person who was too afraid to do it. But please, I don't know if you've had a similar experience, Christina, but please do reach out if you
I
have
think
any
it's
questions.
excellent advice, Claire. I think it's very good for both you and the employer if you can reach out, because it gives you a sense of who you're talking to and what they're looking for. But it also gives you an opportunity to show who you are in that early conversation. So whilst it's kind of like just a little conversation just to see if it's right for you and if it feels okay, and if it gives you more information to improve your application, then that's always going to be a good thing.
Thank you. So did anybody have any more questions today? If you want to pop them into that little Q&A that we have there. I think that's all the ones I've got off Slido. I'll just double check. Okay, so somebody's just asked the question, do you require submitting of academic transcripts? No, for the majority of positions on the Accelerating Women in METS program, we don't require submission of an academic transcript. You can, of course, attach one if you'd like, but for the initial application, we don't require that. Is that something that you would require for Burncut?
No, we don't for the vacation program. We don't require it. We do when it is the graduate engineering program, though, because we would like just to see what units you've completed and make sure that the degree is complete before we put you into a graduate role. That's all.
Just check if there's any other questions. Okay, I think that's it. But you can see my email address there up on screen. So if you do think of something, if you go away and you think, oh, I should have asked that question, or if you're watching this after the fact and you think, oh, that question I wanted to ask hasn't been asked, please do reach out. As I've said, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to help you with your application. I'd love to help you find out more about the program. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us today. Thank you especially, Christina, for joining us from site and stepping in at the last minute. We really appreciate you participating and all the information you brought to us. It's been really great. So thank you, everybody. I hope you all have a great day.